add the stream. Add the stream. I think that add the stream. Okay. So the other thing is, how do people see the chat? I cannot be in the chat. About schedule. Okay, it says live now. Streaming talk shows and podcast. It's not a talk and show podcast. I need to figure out next time what that means. And where's the chat in Twitch? In Twitch says okay. Hello Twitch. We share. Or where do I share this? Share this in Slack. Let's see, sharing random. My first Twitch. I put the title. Capital K. Next time I put capital K. Kubernetes. Spell that correctly? Yes. Let's see. Put it in Slack. In random. I want to jump in and put it in Kubernetes. I think that's a random. There we go. Sometime this year we will add. Oh, so asking about the extra things. Oh, nice, cool. Let me look for this stuff. Kubernetes Slack. So there was a random channel. It's archive. Maybe I should not share this in Kubernetes. I'm sharing Twitch in Twitter. I guess my first Twitch. I should put Twitch with a capital T. Spell Twitch. TV. Public Kubernetes and Knative. Okay. Let's do that. And then let's put it in Discord. TV. Okay. I think that's it. And then the next thing I need to do is move this away to my side thing. I should see the messages from Twitch. And I should be able to see Discord, but Discord, I don't want to see the inbox thing. Anyway, and I don't know why this thing has like a big face of me. I need to change that ugly face. Let me add my screen, I think. It's not working. Added. Oh, I need to share my screen. Share screen. Share my main screen. There you go. Should I be next to it? I don't think so. That's very ugly. Should it be like this or like this? Picture layout shift +7. Why am I in the corner? This will be smaller for people, so let's do this one. Yep. So what I'm working on is getting Knative working on a Docker desktop alternative called Colima. So I'm working. I think I was going to do like a little GitHub repo to write a tutorial to get it working. And the first problem that we get is I can put this and use the terminal here. Nobody's watching, so people are watching. Kali, Kami, and Kali again. Yeah, so let me know in Twitch. I think if I click this, hey, I'm a YouTuber or a Twitcher, and it's Kami. Okay, and I don't know how these comments are removed. Oh, hi. Okay. So yeah, let me know if this text looks fine in Twitch or doesn't look fine. I can make it a little bit bigger, I guess. So the problem is, well, let me give you a background. So what happened recently is that Docker Desktop, I have another repo here, that January 31st, if you work for a company that makes more than, I think I have a GitHub repo here. I started working on alternative for Docker Desktop. So if you can use Docker Desktop, make your life easy, use Docker Desktop. This will be for maybe folks that cannot run Docker Desktop. So I think I created a repo here. Alternative, I think it was Docker Desktop Alternatives. Just looking for this because I have the links here. This is a little bit bigger. So yeah, so if you work for a company and that computer that you have, this only applies to Docker Desktop. It's Windows and Mac OS Docker Desktop. But if you are an employee from a company that makes more than 10 million, it has more than 250 employees, then you have to pay the annual business license, $21. Not you, but your company. So some folks are in a situation that their company still figure out how to work with the Docker on that. But there's other alternatives that are open source in the community. And one of them is, this is it's a work in progress. So if people want to submit PRs, you're welcome. All my repos are open source. They have Apache license. So one of them is Lima. Actually, this thing should point down here. So they'll have Colima here. Oh, that's the worst. Okay, so that's why we're going to Colima to provide that. So there's Lima that you can do. Lima by default, it will create I think Ubuntu. And then you will use nerdctl to create images, build images, run images. The only problem you're going to hit is if you have to mount a volume. And then there's this other thing called Colima. I have tested only on Mac, so I guess it doesn't work for Windows. So this is for people on Mac, also works on Linux. And that one kind of like configures it uses the Lima VM and it configures the volumes and such. And it uses the Docker desktop context. I'll show that in a minute. So to get started, you can just brew, install Lima. If you want the head, this is the one I'm using. You install it like this. And then it says Colima delete. You have an existing one, so you can clean it up. And then Colima start. And the problem with that, I'm going to show it, is it works fine in Minikube, and there's a problem in Kind, and this is what I'm going to work today to open a GitHub issue and see if I can fix it. And then you can do Colima start, and that will start. I don't have Docker desktops right in my computer, so in this case you can you can brew install Colima delete, Colima start, and this will start a VM that is 2 gigs and 2 CPUs. So the problem that I'm having is that in Knative, the resource requests, if you install both serving and eventing, it would require, by zooming both, around 2 point something CPU. So you would need to have 3 CPUs. So with 2 CPUs would not work, but you can do something to kind of like I think that's what was working yesterday. So I'm going to add that here to get it working. So if I'm going to document that, right? You do Colima delete, Colima start. This will create a 2 CPU. I think it's 2 gig. Gig I. Yeah, I can do CPUs. Lima VM. Actually, I was looking for the Lima link, so I can put it here. And I can make this a link. I can add this to the chat in Twitch. It's useful for Twitch. People watching live. If I can find it. Oh, here it is. Can I put it here? Yeah. And the other repo I shared was the one that I'm working on having different things. And there's pros and cons. Like everybody's saying, use this, use that. It depends on the use case. So mounting volumes is something that is very often used. So if you're just building Docker build, it's like you can use Minikube. Like for example, Minikube without no Kubernetes. So going back to the work, so Lima can be used directly into Docker Desktop. I put working on a check out my repo of Docker alternatives. Docker Desktop. Other tools. So me link to that. So this is you're joining or watching this recording. Hopefully I enabled the button in Twitch. Where's my repo? And then add it here. This is just me working on some open source stuff and just learning in public, if it's beneficial. So we have this, and the problem is, so now the cool thing is you can do, there's many options, so you always check the options. Colima help give you the different commands. So now, for example, if I do Colima, let me hide this. If you do Colima list, you see that you have one VM. You can have more than one, I think. You can do Colima start / help. I cannot spell Colima for some reason. And this will give you, see, it's going to be AMD64. Actually, you can use ARC64, which will be the one for Raspberry Pi. I have one here. And then 2 CPUs. Size of this 60, which should be plenty, and memory too. So, and there's many options. Like you can even start with Kubernetes inside of it. So I think it's a pretty cool project that they're doing, like a wrapper around Lima to back Kubernetes. But anyway, so the idea is that I'm using Docker CLI. If I can type Docker. Docker, I can do, right, I just have Docker, which Docker, not type. And then, so I don't have the Docker environment variable, so I'm not going over TCP. So if I do env grep Docker, I don't have the typical Docker TCP socket, TCP information to connect to it. So this is using, if I do Docker, there's a command called Docker context. You can do Docker context help. And then in here, you will see that you can create a new context. So it's similar to kubectl context, right? Config on where you want to connect to. So in here, you can see export, import, inspect. But what that Colima start did, it created a Docker context and switched to it. So if I do context list, hopefully this looks okay. So if Khalid or Kami are watching, I don't know if this looks fine. Or the dark theme looks fine. I can switch to the white one. So if you look at this, I can hide this. See, I have a Docker context called Lima, type Mobi. There's one called desktop, the default one. So this one will be based on, I think this is the one that if you have Docker desktop installed on your computer, it will be using that. And then this desktop Linux, I need to know which one this one came from. So maybe these two came from the Docker desktop, the old Docker desktop. But you can switch back and forth. You can do context, Docker context. What's the command? Use, right? So I can use default. And then if I do clear Docker PS, that should not work. Right? Cannot connect to that one. So if I want Colima, I can do Docker. So this is Docker. This is not Colima commands. I don't know if Colima has a command Docker context use Colima, and then I have Colima, and then Docker PS, and then I have Docker. I can do Docker info, right? And it will print the information from the server and the client information, and the version, and then the server. Anyway, so yeah, you can try to run Knative here. Easiest way to run Knative will be if you go to knative.dev. If you just as an intro, I'm a Knative open source project. I'm on the steering committee. I'm also the lead for the user experience. So this is my open source project that I spend time, nights and weekends, so my free time. So we have a tutorial. This is kind of new, which switch from getting started to tutorial, or you go to home. It says get started here. And then we have a plugin. So this is giving you a quick introduction that you'll be doing serving and eventing. These are two different components. To get started, now this is tutorial. We'll set up a Kubernetes cluster for you. We have a CLI that would help you, would do it for you, do a kind cluster or minikube cluster. So the first thing is that you have to have in your computer is, if you're going to do kind, use kind. You will need to have the kubectl, which I already have, and then the Knative CLI. So first thing is to install the Knative CLI. I can try to install it, but it will say that I already have it installed. And the quick start is a plugin to the KN CLI. So I'll start that next. So this will install just a little CLI. Latest versions is Knative 1.2. So I can do KN version, which KN, you can see where just Brew put it, what's the version. And then the next thing, I think this thing has a plugin command. I thought it had a plugin command. Well, maybe we don't have that yet. These are the plugins. So these are the plugins that I found in the path. So adding a plugin to Knative CLI is the same way as Kubernetes is having a CLI or a shell script, something executable in the path called kn-foo, or in kubectl-foo. So the one that is the quick start. And just to make sure that we have the latest, we can go to the next step, which is install the Knative. This thing is indented. Install the Knative CLI. We should make, that's a bug. We should make this at the same level as this one. So that header, I'll double check. Or you'll be watching and this still is broken. You can open a PR to the docs. It's very simple. It's markdown files and just make this a header that shows in the table here. So yeah, grab the binary and then put it somewhere in the path, like it says here, or using Go, or using Brew. And Brew works on Linux and Mac. Any binary, of course, like there's a Windows version of it, but I'll use Brew. Install a quick start. So now I have 1.2 says you want to install it, just reinstall it, but I already have it updated. The next thing is I want to do a kind or Minikube. And then since I'm using Colima, kind will not work. And that's the issue I need to fix. Minikube will not work, but there's a workaround to create the Colima bigger. I'll show 2 workarounds. So let's do Minikube. So I need to have Minikube installed. Did we set that at the top, that you have to have Minikube installed? Oh yeah, kind or Minikube. So Minikube is from the Kubernetes project. I think it's under, it's under the Kubernetes organization to get small environments of Kubernetes, and it can be multiple nodes. So just grab the version for Linux, Mac, Windows, whatever is your, using Colima then Linux or Mac. So I already have Minikube installed. I don't have to install it. I have Minikube version 1.25.1 is the latest version. And then what we're going to do is run the Minikube version. So kn quick start Minikube. And then this is like an ephemeral environment. It will create a new cluster, always destroys the previous one. We just want to make it bulletproof, easy for someone, like just run it, and it always works. One thing that Minikube that we use in Knative, we use host name routing. So we try to make it very easy to have a host name that points to your computer on port 80 with a host name, a domain name that is resolved to local. So in Minikube, you have to run a second process in another window called Minikube tunnel. So at some point after creating the Minikube cluster with a profile, so this would not delete your Minikube default profile if you're running Minikube, but it will create a new profile -p with -p for profile Knative. So should not affect that one. But if you don't have a lot of resources, CPU and memory in your computer, then you'll be running 2. So you can stop the other ones, and I can show a little bit of that, and then run this one. And as you can see, we're creating that VM with 3 CPUs. So because the resource candidate would want to have up to 2.5, 2.6 CPUs. So we're going to hit a problem that this thing will not start. So this is where Stab says, open a new terminal window and run this command for the profile Knative. And this is a super cool way of actually making load balancers work. So if you have a Kubernetes application or controller or operator and it requires a load balancer, tunnel will create a load balancer, give you an IP address that is reachable from the host. I don't know why this is not like very well explained, but it's like one of the superpowers. So for that, I'm going to create a second terminal, and we don't have to look at it. It's just, you're not using VS Code. This is VS Code, just open another terminal and leave it up and running. So I'll copy this here, and this, which should not throw errors. So if it throws errors, maybe you have something else going on. And then this is exposing like things like port 80 or 443 in your host is a lower port number, you need to have root access, but that's okay. You're not giving root access to Minikube. It's just local to your computer. Don't be afraid that the password will be basically it's trying to do sudo. That's the net. They're not going to steal your password. So it says there's no routes, there's no errors. So if that looks like this, you're good to go. So let's switch to the other one. Let me switch here. And then I can press enter. So with this, a Knative Minikube using KN Kickstarted. More information on the website. Knative website tutorial. Naming that tutorial. And then I can put that link to the tutorial here. Getting started. And click. Let me copy paste it. Do all the way down here, the mini version. Okay. To work around the issue on Knative having resource requests than 2 CPUs. Trade VM using CPUs using this Colima start and use a CPU. Great. So it should work. Minikube. So it's done. Oh, why did it work? It was not supposed to work. Huh. It's not supposed to work. Oh, I know what's going on. So what's happening is the Minikube VM was able. I know what it is. So the Minikube VM is using HyperKit. So it was not using Colima. So it's using HyperKit, which is good. That's what I recommend. But this is just like to talk about Colima. So if you do Minikube profile list, you will see that this thing is running Knative with HyperKit, and it's just creating the VM. And if you have, CPUs and memory, your computer will work. So let me delete that. So I can do Minikube delete -p Knative. Yeah. So what you need to do is set the driver for Docker. So it uses this one. So you can do Minikube config, right? You can set even the version of Kubernetes. So if we want to use 123.3, which is the latest version of Kubernetes, you can do this, but this would set it up for the default VM of Minikube. So it's this one. So what you need to do is set up the version to the one that you're going to use for Knative. So if you want to do this, you will need to do -p Knative, right? I always like to use the latest version. And you want to set the driver. I think it's driver. What's the thing? So it's something else. So it should be. Actually, let me copy this command. And put it here in the README. Okay. Let's set some default values, config values. And for the native minikube VM to be created. Oh, there's questions in here. Does your Mac use an M1 processor? No. So let me put the question here. It doesn't use an M1 processor. No, don't have one yet. Hoping this year work will send me a MacBook, but Colima, they saying that it's supposed to work on M1, so it supports Intel and M1 Max. And the way, and it's because it's using Lima VM, and then Lima VM is using the Apple or Mac OS virtualized framework. So if you have done iOS or Mac OS development, let's see if they mention M1 here. I don't have it here. It's according to ISGCM is faster than Cocoa on Apple M1. And they have something here, or feature Cisco system if it's not available on M1. So they support M1. So that's how they're getting M1 working. So let us know if that's not working for you, and we can add the notes in here. Sorry, I didn't see your comment a few minutes ago. Hope that answers. So yeah, I already said to 123.3. How do I know what version can I use in here? Easiest way is you can do selfish plug. I think we have a KS rel nodes. So I'm a shadow for Kubernetes 1.24, and this is a website that gets generated by the release nodes that we work on. We put them in a JSON file, and then this website puts them out there. So actually, no, this is not a good place to find the latest. There's another website, but I got confused because, yeah, I guess, yeah, I was looking for this. So there's a 123.0 is a release version. So yeah, I don't know if there's an anchor to put in here, but 123.0 is the interesting. I need to talk to the team on how to add the other 123s. Yeah, I'll take a note. I think it's not getting updated. And the reason I know is because if you go to GitHub, Kubernetes, on the releases, you will see that 123.3 is the latest 123. 124 is not out yet. It's going to be out in April, and we are in enhancements freeze. So we're going through the exception. So 123.3. You can put the note here. Here's again to. Okay. No reach Kubernetes. I can type Kubernetes. staying on. Maybe now we'll stay on. I don't know why. So maybe this is a good test. Okay, anyway, we go back. So you want to set minikube config. There's different things that you can set, right? You can do view, you can set, get the list. These all valid default values for property name. So there should be one here for driver. That's what I put in here. Maybe VM driver or driver. I don't know what's the difference. But it says minikube config defaults. Show in Twitch or it's getting cut off? Yeah, because my stupid face is there. I've been typing in the corner. Put this up here. Minikube. How do I switch like the corner of my thing is in the other side? Remove from stream. Solo layout. Don't know. Anyway, I'll do a better job of not putting stuff in this corner or just moving stuff up here. That way we're sure we're not cutting off things. Move this up here. Minikube, what's going to do? Config defaults was driver or VN driver. See if there's a difference. VN driver. VN driver. VN driver is not a valid option for the defaults command. To see options, run minikube config defaults -h. I'm very confused because am I not typing this correctly? It says VM driver. So yeah, this is why I'm doing this type of videos, right? People think they know everything and everything's perfect, everything works out of the box, and it's not. So these are the type of things you figure out. But anyway, let's use driver. So I'll set driver and we'll set it up to Docker because we're using Colima and any Docker command should work. So minikube should be calling Docker for that. So if I set minikube config set, that's what I did last time. Oh, I didn't type drive right. Drive. Okay, cannot type. And then instead of hardware kit, which is the one I use all the time, you will put Docker here. But I set it up to the default one, so it's hardware kit. And then the one that I want is /p knative. Yeah, little things I wasted a lot of time figuring out why stuff doesn't work. I even posted a Slack message in Minikube in Kubernetes, and it's like, yeah, I figured out was a mistake. I didn't use the -p. So that let me put this one first because this is more important. The version you can go with the default. Knative 1.2 supports Kubernetes 1.2 or up, and you can find that. I will not put the versions here, but if you want to know that information, if you go to Knative, we post the release notes in the blog, and if you go to releases 1.2, one of the things that we put in highlights, make sure that we had, was the minimum version of Kubernetes on 121, not 120. Anyway, going back, so we should have driver set and Kubernetes version set to review. So make sure you use the -p knative. You config. Estoy grabando. ¿Qué está ahí? ¿Qué quiere? Ahorita. Minikube config set driver view config and dash p. I'll put dash p at the end. Config view. No, you config view dash p knative. I'll save that here. Put that down here. And it's set Kubernetes version 123 driver HarperKit. What? Oh, driver. I don't know what I type. I'm very confused. So this is why I added that command. I don't trust myself. Oh, this worked the other day. Exciting due to mkconfig set run validation for driver with value driver. Driver not support. Oh, duh. I don't know what I'm doing. I guess this is part of my learning in public, right? Showing people like help them with the imposter syndrome. Or is that special power of live streaming that it's like kryptonite. It removes all your powers of typing correctly or thinking straight because somebody's watching you or being recorded. So that's the one that we want. And then to verify, make sure you have everything configured. It's this one. Now we have driver is Docker, Kubernetes versions 123. I don't know why cache map in Nginx shows. Okay, yeah, I was playing around with the cache to cache images, but yeah, ignore that. Maybe you would not have that in there. So the two ones that you want is Docker. Put this here. You want the output to look like this. Okay. So, one thing that I wanted to see is if Colima will let me inspect the VM to double check that it has 2 CPUs. I don't want to waste time. So Colima, no. Maybe list shows the information. Maybe that's an issue I can open in Colima, or somebody wants to open it. Colima list. Does it have a verbose? No, that's not a one. Oh, it has a profile. Interesting. Colima list. Oh yeah, it shows. Duh. Okay, it has 2 CPUs, 2 gigs of memory, and Knative will not work out of the box on this thing. I think we're ready. We should be able to do the command that we wanted and see this stuff not working. So it's not working, and something's happening. Minikube creating the default using the standard Minikube driver for your system. Using driver Docker driver, yes. Ensure your Docker daemon has access to enough CPU. Exiting due to cores. Requested CPUs. So that's the problem. We need to. Let me open an issue. In Knative, this will not work. Okay, we'll use kind. And kind will not work. Shoot. I guess I can compile the Knative quick start and use it. Let's do this. Sandbox. Okay, quick start. There's a pull request to show. Oh no, there's an issue on Minimum memory requiring example cluster start. Delete all Knative resources when installing an existing cluster. It's this one. And this one talks about yeah, so I guess this is the issue. And you were going to have another issue afterwards. So let's put this one here. Let's see, another issue I found. Issue I found then is that we create a VM in Minikube with a flag of 3 CPUs. And there's no way to work around. So if you are starting in open source, or a lot of people ask, how do I start in open source? To me, the easiest way is be a user of the software and then report bugs and ask questions. That may sound stupid, but no questions are stupid. And I cannot type. So yeah, this is an issue we want to comment, I want to test. You can work on this. Using KN, Kickstart, Minikube, and then output was this. Get it there. So we should really remove that constraint for CPUs. So we're starting to hate it. So yeah, I think, and also if you want to contribute, right? Then the second thing is like complain, open issues, open bugs, or I think work with us. You can submit a pull request or work on the issue, work with us. And basically, what I want to do is, allow Knative to be installed anywhere. It can be that, it can be one CPU, it can be 1 gig, I think. And then update the plugin to support that. Anyway, well, let's get it working, because I think people watching this getting more like, it's not going to run Knative. So a workaround, actually, this is this will fail with this message, and this is good to include this because when people Google this stuff, then they can find the issue in GitHub. And what we can say here is see issue. Right. See, see Knative start issue 104 for those and latest status. Workaround. Recreate the image VM using 3 CPUs. So, no questions? People watching this? How do I know how many people are watching? One. That would be me. Okay. So you have to do the Colima star. What a pain. And then a kind. The kind, there's another issue with the port number, and that will open an issue in Colima. Because that's not a Knative one. Current VM using 3 CPUs. Okay. So you will do -c3 for more info on start, on Colima. For for more options. More options for the VMC Colima star dash help. Okay, so let's delete and recreate. So do one at a time. Yes. And then I'll create Colima start with 3 CPUs. And then this guy, this other terminal is dead, so we'll use that one in a bit. So let's create the Lima VM. One thing that Colima does, they create a directory in your home directory. So if you do ls home/Colima, you will see a few files being created here. I think one is created. Or files I think you can put in here to configure like the way volumes are mounted or extra volumes and all that. Oh, it says starting QEMU. Interesting. So why is this thing called Lima? It's not using the Lima VM? But it was using the Lima VM. Maybe using QEMU is using the Apple framework thing. Huh, interesting. See the context here, like context onto Docker. Starting waiting to, okay. So I think we're done. We should have Docker context. We'll go back. List is pointing to Colima. Then we do Colima list. I can type Colima. I don't know what's going on. Colima list, and it's 3 CPUs. Right? We should not have that issue now with quick start dash with 3 CPUs. And then try again. Let's try again. Look around. Here the VM. Create a native cube environment. The new Colima VM. More CPUs. Follow along, like what do I need to do? Just run that command, run this command, which will have Minikube up and running Knative in your computer without Docker desktop. I think that's the goal. And it will use the config that we already said is save. Is it safe? Let me see. That's a good question. If this profile information is saved. If you want to know where that information is saved for Minikube, you can do a cat home/Minikube, and I think is profiles. Yeah, Knative, and then in here, which you see, it's not. So I need to set them because they're interesting, and 3 CPUs. So it's not going to use the latest version of. Don't tell me this thing is using HarperKit. Is it using HarperKit? It's using Docker driver. What version of Kubernetes is it? 124. Why is not ready 123? Let me delete this. I think we have a problem. Anyway, I'm going to let it be. But I need to check. It's using the Docker driver, but it's using 122. Let me see if I run minikube config view-p that it says 123. 3. Why is it not respected? It may be a bug. It's not being respected. Oh, I know why. Shoot. I know why. It's because in Quick Start, I think we set the version of Kubernetes. Where's that code? No. PKG? Minikube.go. Yep. Kubernetes version 122.4. So we should check and update the default. Let me open an issue. I guess this is going to watch and work on open source. So can set the version of Kubernetes. Actually, you can say update the version of Kubernetes or Minikube. Currently, the latest stable release of Kubernetes is 123.3 and Kubernetes 123.3. We hard code to 1.22.4. We can update the default to 123.3, but I found an issue that if the user sets the version via config, this we don't respect the version set. So should we pass the version? Should we pass the version? Or check first if the config set and then do not set the version. Question. Issue. Okay. If we want to go in 123.3, that'll be a little bit difficult. We can recompile. Anyway, I open an issue. So this one is asking, not that everybody's using 123.3, it's just me, like for testing purposes or using the latest features. But in production, not everyone is using the latest version. So again, run the Minikube tunnel, you run it here. And why is it saying, do not close this terminal, as the process must stay alive for the tunnels to be accessible. Wait, I'm confused. Why is not printing the things? Is it working? It just started. Okay, well, let's trust it. And then click enter to continue. I was hoping to see activity here, like before, like this type of information. The non-cross determine the person must stay alive and time accessible. Okay. Let's see if that worked. Oh, there's two people. There's one person watching. Hello. Alright, if I can see who's watching. Oh, there's a little bit of a delay. Almost like a minute or two from the live stream to Twitch. Interesting. I think I posted this on Twitter. Oh, 14 likes. Nope, it's not mine. It's not that tweet. It's the Go Fostem I was watching today. Oh, it's done. It says, now have fun working with Knative things. And wanting to check if stuff is running. I don't know if we have that in the tutorial. It says, after the plugin's finished, verify you have a cluster called Knative. Yeah, but we should add. So I have one cluster running. It's 124.2, 122.4. It's using Docker and using Colima, right? So if I do Docker PS, if I use Docker PS, let me see how this works. A Minikube is creating a container, and inside that container is all the, like, it's not really a VM, but it's running all the Kube API and all those things. But the knowledge that we should try here, which we're going to hit if we jump. Well, in serving we can verify. So let's go to the next thing, which is Knative serving, and I will explain a little bit. This is magic. So the thing that people hit most of the time, and it's happening in kind, is if you go and do a kubectl get services and get all the services everywhere, Knative is supposed to be configured with a load balancer. So in here, and this is where stuff doesn't work, and you have to set up like meta LB if you're using like your own at-home clusters. If you're using a Kubernetes provider online, that will give you an IP address. So in our case here, the IP address assigned is 127.0.0.1, which, interesting. Maybe the tunnel is not working. When I use Minikube in HarperKit, I get a 10 dot something. Is it the external IP? I don't think this will work. If it works, I'll be surprised. Because this is 127.0.0.0. From where? From that VM in that Docker. Anyway, but there's a I think we run the magic thing. We have a DNS magic pod that set up this. I'm trying to remember. We said in Quickstart we do it, or so you have to have, basically it's going to configure that. Anyway, let's try, see if it works. If it doesn't work, we'll troubleshoot it. So our first tutorial says create your first candidate service, which is basically you can use YAML. This is like a one of the benefits of Knative is merging a Kubernetes ingress with a Kubernetes service and a Kubernetes deployment all in one YAML. And you don't have to specify all the details. Like the minimum information we want is like, what do you want to call the service? And then what container do you want to run? And I added the port 8080 because people ask me like, what's the port number? The default one's usually difficult to find, but if you don't put it, the default is 8080. But in some frameworks, for example, Node.js Express is 3000, or some other part is 5000. Anyway, you can use the YAML if you're a YAML person, or you can use the Knative CLI. The Knative CLI can also be used to generate the YAML. That's a nifty trick. So we'll provide the image that we want. It could be nginx, could be whatever the port that image is listening on, and some environment variables for the app. And then we're going to call this image, this revision first for this service is world. So we can go through the demo and explain why it's called world. And it's explanation down here. So let's run this and see if it works. If it doesn't work, it's because of the load balancer thing. So it's waiting for the revision to go ready. Let's see. And the reason I think that it takes a little bit of time because it's like downloading the image. There's a flag in KN. I think it's a reason one to not wait for that image to, or the pod, or even like deploy a pod. Let's see, where is it? It's a reason one. And service create dash, which we should like print the help message if people don't put anything here. See, it says wait for the service create operation to be completed if like you're like impatient. So is it what is true? I thought there was a new flag. There's examples here. Different example with different flags. Let's go back. Yep, it finished. Okay, so it looks like I think we on purpose configured the config map, a config map that has config-domain with a host name or domain name that will be appended to, which actually is 127, and SSLLIP.io is the same thing as NIP.io. That is a DNS server that would return back the IP address of this thing. And then it's .namespace and then the name of the service. And this piece is configurable. It could be templatized with a config map. There's information how you configure the config map in docs, or if you whatever you want to put in here is like a very but this is just by default, which in production you would actually change, right? You would use your own domain name and TLS and auto TLS and all that stuff, and HTTPS or external DNS. So the next thing, let's try it, see if it works. I'm curious to that 127.0.0.1, which is the one in the host. On port 80, we'll go to, I don't think this will work. Let's try it. I don't know why the extra things in here. Let's try again. Copy and paste. Okay. It didn't work. Yeah, it didn't work. So it looks like Minikube Tunnel is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Yeah, it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Shoot. Let me see the tunnel thing again. Ah, here it is. See, it's asking for the password. So it will work. So how do we force a service ingress requires privileged ports to be exposed 8443 sudo. Should we be asked starting tunnel service courier? See, I don't like this. Let me kill this terminal. I didn't trust. Why did I have another? Let me trust this one. Let me open a new terminal and run tunnel. So Minikube tunnel and it works. Where's the output? Where's the output? I want to see the output. Why? Let me try again. See if that works. No, it worked. Interesting. Actually, I really like this. How they're doing it. So tunnel is creating an input. That process tunnel. I'm talking to that process tunnel that is listening on port 80 on my computer. Right? So I can do like a net 127. How's the passport? Telnet. I don't have Telnet. I'm going to install Telnet anyway. So tunnel wasn't working. So if people follow the instructions, I can put instructions here. Let's create the Knative using the Colima CPUs. Maybe I rearrange this to put this at the top, and then put the steps to do. But this thing would not work, so I'll remove this. Not confuse people. I'll remove this. Knative tutorial. 3 CPUs. Yeah, I think I'll arrange this to do the 3 CPUs. Okay, so yeah, I can like go again, and that should be printing here. I don't know why it's not printing. Anyway, hello world, and I can open this on a browser. I said hello world, right? And Knative works. And the idea is if you follow the tutorial, I'm not going to do the whole tutorial, but right, you will see hello world printed, expected output. Yeah, we call it, and it says hello world. And then that's basically the benefit of deploying your first Knative, which the benefit is kind of like the YAML abstractions. Then the next thing is scale to zero. And then it says to correlate, which we already did. If you run this in another terminal, not this one, but let's open another one. You run this, you will see a pod. Yeah, and a pod is already terminating. So by default, it's 60 seconds. the amount of time after the last request, and it will go to zero. The pod will disappear. So it's already terminating. And the tutorial wants to show you is right, that was running, and now it's terminating until it's gone. So what you asking you is like, open this in your browser or do another curl. So we can open this in the browser, and now it's starting to create a new pod, creating the container in that pod, and it's already running. And the first container run, and then the second container. So you have two containers running in that pod. One is called the Knative Q proxy, which your request goes to that one, and then that one is like looking at your container to see if that port 8080 is open. When it's open, like good to go, and it goes through. Also concurrency. If you set a concurrency, like for example to 1, we say like, oh, there's a request in flight. Let me buffer the next request, and then when that one is done, I'll send the next one. So that's one of the benefits of Knative. And that's what we explain here, hopefully. We're not explaining all those details because as a new person, we don't want to give you, like, scare you with a lot of information, but this is information that is in the other places in the website. And then traffic splitting basically this is why we created the first revision called hello, and this revision will be called Knative, and we'll have something different. It could be the image tag, or it could be some configuration. See how many? Oh, we have 3 users. I'm like hot on Twitch. Oh, hi. There's a person saying hi. I'm gonna try this after reading a bit. And first time chat. Oh, it pings people. Let me put those messages in. Let me see what people are saying. Carlos is rank after seeing this session. And then we have Russell, which Russell did. If you're not a fan of cluster-led, you can find it on YouTube, or if you join our Discord, Russell did the last cluster-led. It's very cool. And then we have Noel. And that's going on in the chat. So then traffic splitting, you can do it with YAML, which is the section. Actually, let's create another revision, right? So this is like telling you, create a new revision for the app. Let's go to this one. Can I move this one down here? Oh, yeah, cool. So it's creating a second one, or just not creating it. It's updating the KN service update, like update this service called hello. Oh no, the revision was called world. My bad. An environment variable in that service for your container will be Knative revision and Knative. So now I have 2 revisions. So you can see here it says the hello Knative. So it's like the service name dash and the revision is the name. And we can call it. So let's call it, and we should not see hello world. We should say hello Knative. So we have world and Knative, world and Knative. And now you can see that by default, when you apply that, the 100% of the traffic went to the new revision. And one thing that you can leverage from Knative is, oh my God, my face is all like with the sun. I still have a line. Or maybe it's the other one. That little line over there. Anyway, I'll stay here. What's going to say? Yeah, 100%. I was going to say there's something called duration. It's like it's good because it's good, but it's not. Let me see, kind of like applicable universally to all possible solutions or use cases out there. But it's something of a concept that you can, if you have, people that can write controllers or do this type of things, it's a duration rollout. So you can say, I don't want to go from 0 to 100 to the new service. You can say, take your time, maybe an hour, and then Knative will take an hour, and then go by steps to move the traffic from 0% to 100% is in steps during that duration, and then watch for errors or things like that. So it's called duration. Gradual rollout, traffic revisions, which is good. So it says here, right, 380 seconds. Anyway, let's go back on traffic splitting. And basically, traffic splitting is something that you would do by hand, but you would do something like project we have from research. There's links that would do SLOs and testing and increase that value or do testing. But if we run this, this was set like 50%. So now if you curl this thing, it will say hello world, hello Knative, hello world, hello Knative, hello world. Next one, let me see if it's Knative, right? So it's not a perfect world, but you see world Knative concurrency 50%, right? So the idea is that you can go from 0, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 until all the traffic goes to the new revision. And you can actually see the revisions, like I said. Let me here. Revision list. So now it says 50% and 50%. And that's it. That's Knative serving in a nutshell. So it looks like there's no problems with Colima. I think the problem that we have is we need to figure out how to make this work in less than 3 CPUs. So there's a problem with kind. I was going to debug what's going on with kind. So if we want to use kind, it kind of works, but it actually doesn't even start. But I'm going to show it and open the issue, and maybe that's helpful, like working in open source, right? You are a user of a tool, and then you're a fan of the tool, and then you help out in the community. And people keep asking, how do I get started in open source? I mean, that depends. Starting with why. But to me, sometimes just finding a group of people that you enjoy, working on some piece of software that you are using for work or home, and then talking about it, debugging it, and improving it. So let's try the other one. So to delete this thing, we can delete it, or I can just stop it. Stop, minikube stop, HP. Native, why it's not? Oh, because I cannot type minikube. Minikube should create like a web UIs or apps with buttons and mouse. Minikube stop -p Knative. I can put that here. You can stop the Knative minikube VM. So Colima works. Just need to create a thing with 3 CPUs. But where it gets stuck is kind. There's a problem using Colima. Create the kind cluster for Knative. And maybe we can get it working like manually. But let's try it with a quick start. So our Docker VS, it's empty, and kind uses Docker CLI to get it working. Also, there's a Podman support, experimental. Actually, I can use Podman to see. I don't think it will work on Mac. I don't know. I don't know. It's just Colima. So for Colima, I can just try it and it will like fail right away. Oh, now you're complaining. This is what I wanted to see. Let me kill that. We can kill that. So the next command is kn we run kn quick start kind. It will complain that it cannot map the port. Something about the port on 127. And I don't know why tonal. Maybe we need something like tonal for kind, but it's kind of painful to have that other terminal working. But I guess we can get it working somehow without exposing that port. So kind is creating a cluster. Oh, it worked this time. Now I'm confused. So it didn't work last time for me because maybe I had something running in 127. Maybe I had Minikube running on port 80. So actually works. Yay! So I should put like kind at the top. Oh, but I can show the example of like not working with the default Colima. So it'll be the 3CPU problem. Okay. So there's no problem. Use kind from the following command. Make sure you are using the Colima and with 3 CPUs or more, 3 plus CPUs, right? 3 CPUs to not confuse anyone that they need like 4. Should be okay. Great. So actually works with kind. Okay. Very cool. So I'll recommend use kind. It works out of the box. Well, yeah, the other one worked also. So maybe what I should do is just call Knative Colima. Tell people just create it with 3 CPUs. Great. Currently in Knative version 1.2, you need to use Knative kn quick start login version 1.2. You need to use 3 CPUs. Delete start with 3 CPUs. Colima creates default VM with 2 CPUs. Around issue, Kinetic having put resource request higher than the for definitely using 3 CPUs. I think we can put here. It's not a workaround. I can put this explanation here. Anyway, having put resources request higher. CPUs. Allow some pods to run. So we can delete this. As we set the defaults. To start a candidate communicate using from information and think I can put that afterwards. That's how default config values for Knative be created. Created using the Docker driver to leverage Colima instead of HyperKit. It's not important. Review the config. Like this, which version is available. I don't need this. And we can put that here because this book failed. We don't need this. We can put this information here in the explanations. Blah, 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 blah. Quick start minikube. I can remove this. You should be happy. Prompted to run minikube. Oh no, that should be Knative. And if you're not aware, VS Code has like a preview thing. You can see the markdown. Just for not familiar with it, you can see if your instructions are coming, looking okay. To use kind, run the following command. Make sure you are using the Colima VM3 CPUs. And yeah, it's done. So we should be able to hit it. Hit it. Great. And test it. Actually, that's not. I'm super happy. Actually, I should test Knative eventing. Let me see. There's the sun line looks like a little bit hollow. Okay. Thank you, Russell. I love Kind. It's such a good product. Yeah, I really like Kind. Actually, backstory is this KN Quick Start. It started from a little script or scripts that I created, and then I created a website, a domain name called conc.dev, which is Knative on Kubernetes, I guess, or Knative on Kind. Was Knative on Kind. I bought the domain, but it's basically this. So the recipes that are being used are like sourced from here, not like using the source code, but these are the experiments that I have, and I have scripts for. I also support Contour on Courier. So these are scripts that you can run with curl. So for example, if you want to set it up, you just run one command, curl-l, blah, 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 and it would like do everything from you. So this was before KN Quick Start. So we got feedback from not customer, but users saying, I don't really trust like this conc.dev website. So I don't know if I want to run this in my computer. Okay. So we decided to create the KN Quick Start, which I think is a good idea. People should not run like code from the web. You should like download the script, read it, and then use it. Anyway, but these are like the first tutorials I did for Knative, and these tutorials ended up being the tutorials in the Knative website, which is another way of contributing to open source, right? Just using the code, reporting bugs, doing tutorials, doing presentation, and those are like, to me, sometimes are equally contributions as writing code and writing unit tests in an open source community. If nobody uses your code, then what's the point of writing code? So yeah, and let's see if SSL. So we used to use. There's two other things that do the DNS thing. I'm going to show what that means. Like this is the domain name. So if you do, I don't know, dig this host name, right? It would should return back 127.0.0.1, right? It return 127.0.0.1. Like for example, you do dig or NSLOOKUP foobar dot 10.0.0.1 dot s what's it SSL. Can never pronounce it. SSL. I think I lost it. SSL io. I lost it. Let me see. Dig foobar SSL. I don't know why SSL. It's not really deals anything with secure. If you back the it's not IP, it's .io. Give you back the thing. So I don't know if there's like an open source project that you can run this internally. But if you go to sslip.io, you will see more information on it. That's the website. It shows you, the different host names, and it would return back the IP address of that request. It's like a kind of an echo for those type of things. Oh yeah, they have a Docker image. Yeah, interesting, cool. TLS, you can acquire TLS. Yeah, I've done Knative. I can show that in another day. Auto TLS with HTTP 0.1 challenge. It works like a beauty in Knative. It's set up with we want enable the function and that's it. I cannot do it here in my local computer because it's HTTP 0.1. But if you have a computer that is accessible by Let's Encrypt, it works out of the box. So this is a very cool thing. We used to use nip.io and zip.io, but we switched these for our testing and multiple things that we do. So it's a great little thing. So does this work? I don't know if this thing worked. And then we call it. Say hello, okay, hello world. We should say hello world. Cool. So let's start testing eventing. So eventing, the tutorial, there's a lot of things in eventing. We're just showing here like my hello world examples. And what we're doing here is showing you how to send an event to a broker and then how to filter that event and route it to a service. And that is called a sync. But a service could be a URL from a Knative service, or it could be whatever pod, if you have a pod. So this environment by default creates you a broker, and the broker types, we have only three: memory based, which is ephemeral, Kafka, and RabbitMQ. So this one is set up with memory because it's like an ephemeral and the smallest thing that we want to give you. So whatever cloud event gets sent to this host name, if you take a look, this is like svc.cluster.local. So this is just a service in your cluster in the Knative eventing namespace, and then / something example broker. So we give you a sample broker out of the box. If you're installing Knative, that doesn't come out of the box. So it's just us to give you something. And then there's this little cloud event player, which is a GUI just to visually see the events. If you want to see a visual version, I have a tutorial that just does curl and prints to the terminal. But this one is little web app that is listening for the events, and then you can open it. So let me open it here. So it's running here, And then basically you can send an event. You can use this to send an event, a cloud event. So let's send in a cloud event. I hit the button, click send, and this little, I don't know, airplane shows that the thing was sent. So if we put event ID, I don't know, 1, and the type could be like, what is the type event is called, like Twitter, let's say an event from Twitter, or Twitter, let's say you got a new DM, and then the event source could be like Twitter, it could be any strings, right? But it's identifiers, and if you use URLs, it'd be easier. But we can say Twitter.io. The spec version is related to the cloud event, just the latest version, and then the message, the data, and then you send it, and then it was sent to the broker, but nobody listened to it. So it was sent to the broker, and I don't know, you sent me something, but there's no one listening to it, and that's where triggers come in. So a trigger is like, if you have used OpenWhisk, I was one of the co-founders of OpenWhisk, called a rule. I lost that battle of during the wrestling for bike shedding on calling these things, but we decided to call it trigger. So this rule will say, if this event has this stuff, send it to my service or this URL, and the stuff is like a filter. So in this case, we're going to create a trigger. So we create a trigger. So the name of the trigger, we call event trigger. That's that sync. Sync is like syncing messages into something. With the cloud events player, which is that it's a Knative service. Yeah. And one of the things that we should do with this demo is make it not scale to 0. So this thing will scale to 0. Yeah. Okay. So let's create it, and then the broker, like, so basically saying, if something comes through this broker, and there's no filter, like send me everything, send it to me, to the cloud player. So that created the trigger. You can list triggers if you want to do KN trigger list. You put that in the tutorial, right? So that's the name of the trigger. Anything that goes to this broker, hey, send it to me, to a Knative service, this thing. But it could be a Kubernetes service, or it could be just a URL external to the cluster. And the trigger was created. And then what it's asking us to do is, now we go back to the player and then send another message. And I think if this thing goes to 0, I don't know if we're going to see it, but let's say that we'll send another message. Let's put cloud events 2, and we send it. Now, if you look at, let me open an app here. Let's see. So what we want to see is these two. Like that. These two. So the first one is this one saying, yeah, the broker saw a message, and then this was sent to the cloud player. So this received the message. And you want to see the payload of that message or the cloud event details, you can see the information here, and this is cloud event 2. So it was received. Now that we have a trigger. Let me try this. Where's the tutorial? Go back to the tutorial. It's not it, this one. Actually, let me remove this clutter. There you go. So yeah, you see the 2 messages. This is what I was trying to highlight. And you can clear the event. And then the next section, you can delete it. I think that's it. It talks, something that maybe we need to improve in this tutorial is like talking about filters. See, it says here, because I didn't specify filter in our kn command, the trigger is listening to an event player coming to the broker. It's getting all events, but you can say filter. So for example, if you do kn trigger create, you should see examples, hopefully. So you see filter here, type equals dev.kenny.com. So I can recreate it again. I can do kn trigger. Okay, what was the name? kn. I think I left the message up. I can do kn trigger list, kn trigger delete. I don't have auto completion. Do I have auto? Yes. And then I can do kn create trigger h kn. I always like noun first, verb second, verse first. Trigger create. And what I want to do is create the same thing I created before, like this one, but then put -- filter. And I want to listen to cloud events types, twitter.com, right? First, a value contain is equal. Oh. Didn't use semicolon, which is come. It created successfully. So let me see if I do a kn trigger list. We don't have describe. Oh yes, yeah, I describe. Okay, yeah, you can. It's like similar to kubectl. So we have the name of trigger. This is a CR, custom resource, the broker, the filter, and then the conditions, and then the sync. Where do you want to, when a message gets received, it gets filtered. So only the filter type twitter.com, send it to me, and this thing is of a type service, but type Knative. So if I send the message again, twitter.io, I think I put twitter.com. Let me change this. Twitter.com as events type. I should have used source. Anyway, I'll send it. And this is number 3. And it didn't work because I think this thing scaled to 0. There you go. Type. Twitter.com. Yep. So twitter.com, it was sent and it was received. So this is like the browser thing. Like I sent a message and I got back a message. So if you even like call directly to the event player, should show the message should show here. So this is hello world event 3. I don't know. I have to think about if this is the best way to do the tutorial for eventing. It's a little bit confusing for any folks that don't know what's going on. But it's a good start. So I'm not complaining. I think that's it. I think we got working Colima. I thought there was a problem with Colima. It's a matter of just running CPU 3, setting up the Docker in kind. It just works. And then to delete, there's no stopping kind. I guess you can stop kind because it's a Docker. If you do Docker PS, there's a kindest thing. So you can stop it, this container with this name, or you can delete it. So since I put stop on the other one, I'm going to say the same thing as here. When you're done, you can delete or stop. To stop this, to delete. Actually, I should put delete first. To delete. Okay. Minikube delete -p knative command. Yes, I think so. Yeah, goodbye. And then for kind, it's kind of the same thing. But we would do a. I think we can use the kind command. So we can do kind delete cluster da da da, and all this one works. And then to stop, curious to see we can stop it or pause it. I guess we can pause it, or we can stop. I do. We can stop it. So basically, will be Docker. What's the name? Docker PS. Docker stop. And the name of the container is this guy. And we stop it. The thing you have to watch out for Minikube is if you stop and start that Minikube profile, you need to do the Minikube tunnel every time. Minikube, remember, run the tunnel command. Actually, I can put this at the bottom. I can put this like this. Put this like this. This is like, I think it's like a comment or a note. And then to stop, I stop. So this stopping saves memory and CPU from your computer. If you only have one computer, you can save time. And then you want to start again. I think you just do Docker start. Let me try this. So, okay, get pods, nothing. Docker start. Start. That's this guy. And then we do Docker PS. Then API server and blah, blah, blah. And all these things should be coming in. If you want to, like, another trick is if you want to go inside that kind of VM, you can do -it. I should be able to go, yeah, I should be able to go to Knative or the Minikube, right? It's so kubeadm control plane bash. In this case, it's Knative control plane and then bash. I'm in, right? So I can do PS. And I can see all the things going on, all the processes that are like fork from that container process. So we see things like the kubelet is running in there. It's amazing, right? If you are learning about containers and Kubernetes, like the amount of stuff that people have worked and figured out how to do with containers, it's mind-blowing. So yeah, we have a kubelet, and we have the control plane manager, and we have etcd, and we have the scheduler, and we have API server, all these things running in a little container, all Kubernetes. We have the webhook, which is from Knative. All the things I say code. We use code. Compiling Go is a really cool utility for compiling code and creating a Docker distroless container. Not Docker, but container distroless. the autoscaler, which is a component of Knative. So all these things are Knative. All these things. Yeah, those are all the pods are running, and the famous pause process, right? Courier. So everything running in one container. So pretty neat. Are we back? Can we run Knative? If I do kn service list. I'm inside the thing, right? So kn service list. I should be able to visit both these things and they should work. I think. Maybe? Yes. And my favorite before I finish is a service create in Nginx, right? Dash image. If you're using the Bitnami Nginx, it's port 8080, or if it's just Nginx, you can say Nginx dash port 80. Just make sure that people know the thing, and then you run it. If you don't put dash port 80, will think that Nginx is on 8080, and then you will have be confused of why it's not working. But in this case, it's running, and I have Nginx running in serverless. And if I wait a little bit, it will scale to 0. Or one other trick that I like to do is let's delete it. Delete Nginx, and then what we can do is, because I usually don't want to wait the 1 or 2 minutes, you can use the kn service create dash help. There's a flag that tells you use the default wait timeout seconds to wait before giving up on waiting on service to be ready. No, that's not the one. Is no wait. Do not wait for service created operation to be completed. Nope, that's not it. Where is it? It's with no. I know it's here. Give me a second. Concurrency limit. Yeah, you can set concurrency limit 1, right? Actually, let's do that. Hard limit on concurrent requests to process single replica. So we can set it to 1. So we'll be working as a lambda or fast. And the other one we can use, concurrency limit, is the one that I wanted to shut down faster. Did I remove it? Maybe I'm not looking correctly. Oh yes, I agree also. Right, documentation is key to get new users onboarded. So we have a great technical writer that fixes all my problems when I write. Samia from VMware, she's an open source contributor. So shout out to Samia and Paul. They've been doing a lot of PRs to the Knative documentation. Where is thing that I use in my demos? Oh, here it is. Here's the scaling information, right? So you can say scale. You can leave one pod always running, the maximum of pods. They call it replicas, right? A massive replicas. And this is the reason we don't use the word pods in this thing is because you can take the Knative API and implement a SaaS solution or your solution with the API, and there's no really pod nomenclature. So for example, Borg doesn't use the term pod, and they implement with a Borg-like solution, Cloud Run. But is this one? You can use this one. There's another setting I don't think is exposed through the CLI, but there's other settings that you can set on the service-specific basis or globally. So this one, scale window is basically the duration to look back and making auto-scaling decision. The service scales to 0 if not request was received during the time window. So for example, 10 seconds. So you can set it to 10 seconds. So I can create the service again and pass it these flags. Scale 0, that's the window of analysis, right? 10 seconds. If I don't see, requests in that time window, then it's time to go and scale down. And then the other thing that I can do is concurrency limit, right? Don't process more than one request at a time. So it would do a little bit of buffer, but the buffer would get full to the point that it will create another replica or pod. I can set it to 1, and then we can hammer it with something like, for example, right? It opens up. If you do get pods dash W, now in like about 10 or 12 seconds, and you saw that it created two containers, 2 pods, and now it's terminating one of it, and then in 10 seconds should kill the next one, and it's killed. So it's easier to do demos like this. This is the flex that I use in my demos, because I don't want to get everyone bored, like waiting for pods to scale to 0. And if you want to really hit it hard, you can do like a hey, what's that URL, and then I can pass it. I can do hey, and this is a utility that will send a bunch of requests as flags and defaults. So, and then I can do get pods dash W, and I should see a bunch of pods coming up. Hopefully, or it's getting hammered too hard. Shouldn't be. I think I'm hammering too hard. That the API server is not even like responding. Let me kill this. So I process. See, deadline exceeded. Timeout. Oh, why timeout? Now I want to know. Did it did any request? I think it was not even reaching this thing. Curl this thing. I think I see my fans, so it might be something else. I think my Docker PS, maybe that just died. Maybe I need more CPUs. API server is gone. I think my cluster is busted. And I hear my fans. Yeah, I think I lost my cluster. We might be related to something else. No, I think it's going to work. Let me try the Docker stop. Touch kill. Ooh, I should have checked Docker stats. Does Docker stat works with Colima? Yes, works with Colima. And then Docker start. Yeah. Assuming that, let me open. Should be opening split the terminal. Dash. Yeah, Docker stat, I don't think it works with Colima. It's not giving numbers back. Interesting. Hot minus A. Let's see how that works. There you go. Okay, yeah, I start creating a bunch of pods. Yeah, the three CPUs are not enough for all these things. Kill the cluster. So there's a few things running, and some things impending, and it's one curating. Let's see, get pods in this namespace. Should configure not that many requests in parallel. But if you have a big machine, then this will work, no problem. Yeah, something's not very happy. So I'm guessing it's not letting the autoscaler to run. Autoscaler is running. The controller was running. But yeah, the three CPUs are not good for this demo. I need to run this demo on a Kubernetes cluster online. Could you run kubelet in Knative? Not asking. And could you run kubelet in Knative? Not asking for any reason. Don't mention this to hardcode. So the kubelet in Knative, I don't know how would that work. Maybe to scale to 0. But the kubelet is a process on the host for the most part. So it doesn't have APIs. Can you specify a maximum number of replicas allowed to run? Yes. So that was me point that maximum number of replicas to allow to run. Yes, you can do it with one of the flags that I show. KN service create. And it's still spinning. So this is what I like. It's quick start because it will like delete it. Say, do you want to delete it? Yes. And let me use the other window. So you can do KN service create -- help, and you can set the scale to max. This one, max number of replicas. So if we try again, we can use that one to say don't create more than, I don't know, 10. And then other requests will come in, and then the autoscaler, and autoscaler can be configured to be there. It can also be configured like I never want to be an autoscaler. I have an autoscaler to get those requests when there's no pods, and then once everything's settled, it gets out of the way, all the traffic goes in. But it will start buffering. The system will start buffering to the point like it cannot buffer anymore, and then give you back errors. So we should see the errors if we hit that limit, right? Because nothing is infinite. But we do a little bit of buffer to babysit those requests versus vanilla Kubernetes, right? It's just you go directly, and if it's nothing can handle it, you get errors directly from the app. In our case, we do a little consider protection. And now that I think about it, we should add an option to quick start to do only serving or only eventing. If I'm not going to let me open an issue for that. So yeah, this is part of the reason I want to show this type of Twitch things. Is like some people don't know how to get around on GitHub and such, or opening issues. Sometimes we ask them to open issues and they don't have any idea how to open an issue. So in this case, I can open an issue here and it could be kind of a question kind of thing, like to have start a discussion. In Knative, we are heavily used to Slack, so sometimes we just talk things in Slack, and then afterwards we open the issue, or open the issue and then go to Slack and point to the issue. But I like to use GitHub because it's public, it's searchable. So in this case, you can ask a question: should we offer a flag to select to do serving or eventing? Today, and I wanted to set up an environment only for serving. Use the smallest resources, type resources possible. So something like and quick start and kind, and I can do dash dash. Do we have flags? And quick start dash help dash or dash dash. So we can do. I'll do the long version. Sorry. Or and this could be an issue if somebody wants to work on it, but we'll discuss it to see what will be a good implementation, or if you have comments. Yeah, this is how projects or apps grow in size, in complexity, and features and options. So it might just trying to say, like, sometimes you add too many options or features, that's a bad user experience. So going back to our clusters setup, and I always try to measure. This is something very important that I think is measure how long it took. Sometimes you lose sense of time. So this didn't take that much, 2 minutes, but I'm more concerned about, like, if I don't need to use the CPU and memory for eventing, only serving, then I don't want to install eventing. And because eventing and serving like two independent components of Knative, you can use one or the other. So I think we wanted to create a service with Nginx. I said, come on, Nginx, and then concurrency 1, and then we're also suggested scale max to not scale more than. You can set the scale initially, right? You can even start I want to start with 0 or 5. Scale target. Actually, I should put the recommendation for when to scale up based on a concurrent number of incoming requests defaults to concurrency limit when given. So this will be 1 versus 1. There's one more details, you can read the documentation, but they almost look the same, right? The target versus the limit at the top. And then scale max is, I don't want more than, I don't know how much CPU and Nginx takes. Let's say no more than 5. So if we hit it very, very hard, it will not crash our cluster because it will not create more than 5 pods for Nginx. And it would just give back errors I'm not creating more, so sorry for you. But it will do a little bit buffer. So let's see. So that's one pod. I can run it, hit refresh a couple of times. Let me see how many pods we have. We have 2. If I do curl, I think because that's the cache thing. Right, I can do that. Let's see. Now we have, and because they're terminating so fast, 1, 2, 3. But let's use hey now. And then let's watch the pods. I think that's the demo I wanted to do. Right. And oh, it went so fast. Okay, so yeah, Hey sends only 200 requests. And this is not the best way to see this thing. Let me see if we can do watch. Okay, pods. Yeah, I think that's better. And then we do Hey. You will see like it will only take 10 seconds to come down. So we can increase the amount of time Hey continues to send requests. I think it's that Z-Z. And that way, which is like see five pods always running. See? So let's try Hey dash H. And there should be an option say dash Z, right? You can say Z 3 minutes. So let's run it with dash Z. Why dash control A doesn't work? Oh, because of the demo pro. And then dash Z. Let's say, I don't know, 3 minutes. And I should be able to send a bunch of requests and see 5 pods. I just want to see 5 pods just sitting there steady. Another question from Russell. I was thinking, let's see, I was thinking registering dozens of nodes by spinning kubelets to make it difficult. I'm always thinking about cluster led. Yeah, the problem will be like if you can. So then the short answer is you can. Basically, you can spin up a lot of pods with the kubelet program, with the join token, right? And then when you check the number of nodes, they will start. They will show up. They might not be fully functional because they don't have container ID, but it kind of like scare someone, right? When they do kubectl get nodes, and then suddenly see those nodes disappearing. Yeah, you don't have to use Knative for that. We can put a cron job and then hide the any get jobs with a shell script through an alias or something like that. So yeah, 3 minutes. I said it 3 minutes, so there should be a constant rate of requests, and that thing will not come more than 5 replicas, and every request is executed or processed individually. So in some use cases, I'm not saying that that's a good thing, but in some use cases, people want to have one request to be processed at a time. The one that I come across all the time is like processing something in memory, like processing a big image or a piece of data, or crunching something for a amount of time that request is doing something heavy, that if you send another request and both are going to do something heavy, it blows up the container runtime that you are allocated, maybe this X amount of CPU and memory for that pod, which you can set in the service. You can say resource requests and limits for the pod. So in terms of CPU, we throttle, but if it's memory, you will go like OOM and then blow up the pod. So that would be the only use case I have come across on wanting to have one request. The other one is like deficiencies maybe, or like lack of experience working with high concurrency programs that if you're sharing a global state, or you cannot do concurrency in certain languages, you want to have one request. That's it. So I finished. It processed in my computer 86,000 requests. Actually, all of them with 200. So see, the buffer actually worked, and all of them were processed individually. So this kind of the demos that I really like. All of them took 1.9 seconds because I think I'm running a lot of things, and they were fighting for CPU, I'm guessing. I don't have the metric server, so I'll install the metric server another time. But yeah, I think that's it for today. My wife was calling me. So I'll stop the stream here, and I will share. Well, actually, let's show people these basic steps. To if you want to write a create a repo and make these instructions open source. I have readme.md. Usually, I like to put a license so we can. I have the Apache 2 license somewhere in one of my repos. We can use this one, which is the Apache license. Put it here. This is documentation, right? Actually, this should be like Creative Commons license. So I'll do that later, but this one is good enough. And then the README, and then you can do a git init. Actually, the instructions, the easier way is to go to GitHub and start creating it, and this will give you the instructions. Because sometimes you need to use HTTP or SSH. So I usually go to repositories. This is my GitHub profile. If you want to, I guess you can follow me. I don't know. Follow me on Twitter. Create a new. Actually, I left the message from Russell up. And then I'll call this one. What did I call this one? Knative Colima. All of them are called Knative Colima, right? And then this is like running Knative with Colima. And people can like, what the hell is Colima? Well, they can get here. Public. I always make all my repos public. You have something private is because I'm working on it, but usually I have everything's public. I don't have anything private. Maybe my website. Initialize this repository. I don't want to initialize it because you have the files here and you go to a git init. So you don't want that, and you can choose the license. Actually, we can do that, but since I have a no, because this will create files and it will put them. So yeah, if you have files locally, don't do this. This will be like if you don't have even a folder or nothing locally, then use this. I don't know what I removed Travis from the apps that I share. If somebody knows how to remove this, I may need to open an issue with GitHub. I really want to remove this because I removed the app. So these are the instructions. So this is where you can switch from HTTPS to SSH. If you're using the desktop app, I'm not a user of desktop app. I guess you can use that. So my configuration SSH. And then what you want is create a new repo or push one. So in this case, you can follow these instructions. So you can do the git init, which I have here. Then you can add the files, all the files. So you can do add dot if you want to add everything, and you have the .git ignore set up. So that added 2 files. And then you can set this is your first commit. So you're going to commit this, right? You see git status, and there's nothing here. I'm working. And then this little one is if you don't do this, depending on your client, your branch will be called master, but these days world with switch to be used to use main. And then basically this will set up your git remote, but basically it's connecting this local repo, giving it a remote that is origin. You're not doing open source, so you don't have an upstream. And I'm using the git add because I use switch to SSH, you switch HTTPS if you like this. I like the SSH because I don't like to put my username and password or configure all that stuff. And then you push, and then when you push, this repo will have your files. So let's push. And now I should be able to refresh my browser, and the thing is up. So we have Knative Colima, running Knative with Colima. Actually, on Colima, using Colima. I think that's it. The trick is the 3 CPUs. Actually, I didn't delete this piece, so let's go over how you make a change or pull request to myself. So let's do a PR. Why do I have this thing twice? Follow instructions. Oh, I didn't remove this. Blah blah blah. And then we can put this one here. We can put this here. CPUs. I think this around. Yeah. Review. Blah blah blah. Let's create the Knative minikube. When you're done, delete it. Okay, that's the change. And if you are starting new in this Git world, you can use VS Code GUI. I love it. You will see here, this is the icon for source control. You click on it, you review the changes. This is what I want to do to review. And then you can put your commit message here saying update instructions, remove duplicate. This will yell at you if you make it more than 50 characters. Then command enter, and then you can actually I merge into main. I didn't want to do that anyway. In another question, I'll show how to work with pull requests. Usually useful when you're working with forks on open source and contributing back. But in this case, it's my repo, so I usually use PRs and issues and do not with the flow. But if you're starting, just YOLO, just push to main like a cowboy. And it's up. And you can see here there's 2 commits, the first one and the second one. And that's how you get around on this GitHub open source thing. And I think I'm done. I don't know how long I've been talking about here. Oh my god, 2 hours. This will be a boring session. I should do faster ones. Okay, so this is done. Let me know in Twitter if you like this session or not. And I didn't stream it to Twitter or YouTube. I just left it in Twitch. So I'm not sure if I should put this type of streams on Twitter and YouTube, but let me know. And join our book club. Let me plug that in. If you go to dev, which is my website, you can learn what I do for work, open source, blog. Actually, maybe I will do a blog post on Colima, pointing to the repo. And then this is the book club that we meet every Friday. And we are going to discuss this Friday chapter 2 of Network Kubernetes. You can sign up for an invite, a Google invite calendar or calendar invite, and then join the Discord channel that we have here. And there's more stuff like resources to learn about cloud native, my projects that I work on. I should update this. And I run a newsletter. You can meet with me on Calendly. And I run this newsletter. I don't know why it looks like this. Interesting. They changed it. They changed it. This was not the template I was using. But anyway, you can put your email address in here and get an email with my newsletter, which I'll be sending tomorrow. Every Sunday and send it out. So this was from last week. With that, I think I'm going to cut the stream. Thank you, folks. Thank you, Russell. Thank you, Dr. Khalid. Thank you, Noel, for joining. So see you around.